This Shabbos Bereshit, is the first Shabbos of the year. I mean, in terms of after the high holidays, after Sukkot and Simchas Torah. And as in fact, there's a Chassidic saying, "Du stellt sich weg Shabbos Bereshit, as geht the ganze Jahr." Shabbos Bereshit sets the tone for the entire year. The tone is set by the reading of the Torah, telling the story of Bereshit, but also by the Haftarah. The Haftarah, which is what the rabbis have established, when it was forbidden to study the Chumash, they would choose a section, a chapter in the prophets, which corresponds to the message of the parasha. Although this week, we are not going to read the Haftarah of Bereshit, but we're going to read the Haftarah of the day before Rosh Chodesh, which is Machar Chodesh. Tomorrow is the new month. What's the story? So it says in Shmuel, the story was when King Shaul was getting agitated, was getting nervous about David's rise, and he was plotting to kill him. Yohanan, the son of Shaul, an extreme friend to David, became his protector. And he told David, "I know that my father wants to kill you. We have to find a way how to save you." And he said the following: tomorrow is going to be Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh, there is the traditional feast. You will be invited there too. If you don't show up and your seat will be empty, I'll see the reaction of my father and see if his anger is still so strong that he wants to kill you. Going to hiding for 3 days in a special place where there is a traveler's marker. And after 3 days, I'm going to go with my assistant and have his bow and arrow, using it to practice. He's going to shoot 3 arrows, and then he's going to send the boy to collect them. And Jonathan says, if I'll call the boy and say, they are to the side, then you know it's safe for you to return. But if I'm going to say, they are further, that means that your life is still in danger. And indeed, it became clear over Rosh Chodesh that King Saul wants to kill him, and David HaMelech was able to hide and survive this particular plot. That's the story. And after this, they swore eternal friendship. Means between David and Yohanan. That's the story. But what does it have to do with Erev Rosh Chodesh? The only indication, the only mention about the story was that it happened to be Erev Rosh Chodesh. Why make a whole haftorah out of this? What's the connection between Shabbos? But here's the beautiful thought. Rosh Chodesh, the new moon appears. But before the new moon appears, it first must completely disappear, as we know the cycle of the moon. The birth of the new moon brings new light, a new spiritual energy. But for the world to deserve that new energy, it first has to have total self-nullification. And know that this nullification is what brings about the new light. We, the Jewish community, counts the calendar according to the moon. We are compared to the moon. Just like the moon has a continuous rebirth, so too do we. And we count, we set our time, we set our agenda, we set our life on this concept of constant renewal, a new level, a new light. But prior to this, there has to be total self-nullification. Says Yonasan to David, your seat will be empty. In other words, you'll be self-nullification. This will bring about the ultimate light. And indeed, the bow and arrow. What's the bow and arrow? A bow and arrow, you pull back. In other words, you pull back on your own self. You put away with your own self. You face your own importance. Then you will be meriting the new light, the new energy, godly energy, which comes with the new moon. In these days that we are experiencing already 8 months of pandemic, While the world is giving out Nobel Prizes for science and for math and for chemistry and for all those wonderful achievements, none of them can actually travel to go get it, because a tiny invisible virus has taken over the power and the strength of all those great accomplishments. Absolute self-nullification, collectively and individually. So we turn to Hashem on this Erev Shabbos Bereshis. Please, God, we all recognize, yes, that indeed you created the world and you're present in the world and you run the world. And we are submitting ourselves to your wishes, to your desires. So make this Shabbos to be the Bereshis, the first Shabbos in the Beis HaMikdash. And we'll light the candles in Jerusalem at 5:26, together with the lights of Mashiach. Shabbat Shalom.